Leading up to the launch of Borderlands 3, it almost felt like people involved were actively aiming to sabotage it. It all started with the announcement that on PC, it would be an Epic Games Store timed exclusive, which we can talk about, how much the Epic Games Store sucks, but it went beyond that, with members of the team really putting the store on a pedestal and then lashing out against the fans when they didn't agree. I mean, who am I kidding? I'm talking specifically about the Gearbox CEO, Randy Pitchford. He talked up how great the store was and said fans were just, quote, bitching and moaning when they said they didn't like it, and went on several tirades about how, people are still gonna buy it and all that stuff. An interesting way, I would say, to deal with a decision that a large portion of your fan base doesn't like. Which, while I'm talking some shit, they also had this big reveal event at PAX. Essentially, they had a E3 type press conference showcasing different games in that, but everyone came for the unveiling of Borderlands 3. And my god, was this thing awful. If you follow my channel, you know I often say these companies, they should just copy Nintendo Directs. Quick, easy to digest segments that give you a lot of information in a short amount of time. What Gearbox did was basically the opposite, dragging this nightmare out for as long as possible, only had like a few games to even show, and it was complete with like a 20 plus minute segment of Randy doing a magic trick for the audience.
20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25,
yeah, isn't
26,
this
27,
riveting
28,
content?
29,
Are you hyped
30,
for video
31,
games
32,
yet?
33, 34, 35,
And after all this
36.
nonsense, when the reveal finally came, the video itself was a laggy mess, a bit of foreshadowing, one might say. And they had to attempt to play it multiple times, and Randy had to keep coming out like, we fixed it this time. It was so awkward, so bad. Now, when they did get all the kinks worked out, the video itself did look solid though, when viewed without all the frame rate issues. So despite all these problems during the lead up, people were still pretty excited, longtime fans of the series especially. But they couldn't stop there, could they? More drama ensued as fairly recently it was actually a major Borderlands content creator named Supmato reportedly had private investigators sent to his house in what seemed to be almost like an intimidation tactic as they questioned him about the stuff he was making about the Borderlands 3, as 2K and Take-Two felt he was leaking content. And the level of these supposed leaks is certainly up for debate. I know he used some stuff that was actually on the official Borderlands, I think it was their Twitch channel, but certainly regardless of what he did, it didn't seem like something that warranted this course of action. And they even put out an official response saying, quote, Take-Two and 2K take the security and confidentiality of trade secrets very seriously. The action we've taken is a result of a 10-month-long investigation and a history of this creator profiting from breaking our policies, leaking confidential information about our product, and infringing our copyrights. Basically saying, don't cross us. It's a pretty scary situation, actually. And then the game actually launched, and that was also, surprise, quite the disaster. All sorts of problems reported on all platforms, whether it be random crashes, lag, specifically this lag that would come from like using the menu, and it would also affect other players that you're playing with in multiplayer. On Xbox One, I felt like I almost had sort of a memory leak type issue where like after 2 hours or so of play, my performance would just take a nosedive, even when I was offline. There has been work done to improve some of this. I don't know what the situation currently is like on PC, because I know that had a lot of issues and they had to do many times specifically with your PC build. And these problems, combined again with like the Epic Games Store debacle, Supmato, etc., led to some serious review bombing on sites like Metacritic. And as I always say, I think there are plenty of things to criticize about this game, and if you want to give it a low score, that's fine. But ones and zeros, as I mention whenever we have these types of situations, if you think Borderlands 3 is a 0 out of 10, all that tells me about you is that you haven't played many games. But yeah, so much of this game's build-up and subsequent launch has been rough, with so much going against it. But here's the thing. The game itself is actually pretty awesome. Now, I'm not the biggest Borderlands fan, but I have dabbled at least in all of the past games, except for like the Telltale ones. And I would say, in terms of gameplay, this title definitely builds on and improves everything that has been established so far. Yes, it is in many ways more of the same. I've seen a lot of reviews complaining about that, which I don't really remember people asking for a shakeup to the Borderlands series. The people who enjoy it just want to run around with obnoxious weapons, ones that are even more absurd than the ones found in previous games, and blow shit up to get even more ridiculous guns. And yeah, Borderlands 3 delivers that in spades. One of the highlights, in fact, from the original reveal for me were the guns with legs that essentially run around and act as little mobile turrets attacking enemies. I love these things, especially when you can throw out multiple and have like a little army going. So great. I'm also playing through the game as Flak, the Beastmaster, who is actually kind of a big reason I wanted to pick this game up. He's this beefy pet user, which is right up my alley. You always have one of your pets by your side that you can upgrade along with Flak, giving them new abilities and even altering their appearance. I like all of the pets. It's hard for me to choose a favorite, but I like rolling with the monkey that also wields a gun. I got him upgraded now. He uses like a shotgun or a machine gun. I gave him this cool punk skeleton look that I dig a lot. I make sure to outfit the pets with revive abilities so they can take care of me. I do pretty much anything that helps me protect myself, like using the cloak ability so I can break line of sight frequently and heal so I don't get downed, because that happens quite a bit to me. And I will say, difficulty actually is something I've always thought was done really well with these games. Like, firefights are pretty intense, as you often have enemies all over the place with shit flying everywhere, but they're not so tough that you're going to get stuck in an area for a long time or anything. They're well-earned victories, which I really like. Story-wise, I do think this game is probably on the weaker end in comparison to other Borderlands titles, which the franchise does have a rich world and lore. Like, if you don't play these games, you may be thinking, like, well, how much story could there be? How good is it going to be in a looter-shooter? Typically, the writing is pretty good, actually. For 3, though, the Calypso twins, I think, are kind of a missed opportunity. In my opinion, the deranged streamer idea is fantastic. It makes them easy to hate, but they just didn't make them interesting enough. I don't think many fans of the series will disagree when I say they don't hold a candle to someone like Handsome Jack. And I found some of the new characters kind of annoying, a bit too over the top, even for a Borderlands game, specifically this child character, Ava. I'll say multiple times I just wanted to reach through the screen and strangle her. There's one part, I won't spoil it, but one part where she's an idiot and bad stuff happens as a result, and she has the balls to go up to the other characters and scream at them as if it was their fault. I don't want to think about her anymore. So yeah, there is still plenty of fun writing and characters that don't fill you with rage, but when being held next to the other Borderlands games, I'd say this is this title's weakest aspect. But to bring things back up, the visuals are by far the best of any Borderlands title, not just because of the obvious, like, oh, it's the newest game, so it has the prettiest graphics, but the environmental designs are top-notch. Areas can still have that feeling of emptiness, especially if you don't have a mission going on in the area you're in, but the looks of the various landscapes are great. Enemy designs similarly can get pretty crazy. There are some really epic boss fights in the game, by the way, with various mechanics that'll keep you on your toes. Also, the effects from your weapons and abilities are all a visual treat for sure. Again, when the game is running smoothly, that is, which sometimes can be a hurdle. Audio also, there's some very solid music in this game, and the sounds coming off the weapons give many of them a nice added punch to the impact. So in terms of the presentation angles, I'd say they really step things up here as well. Overall, many things surrounding this game made it feel like a disaster, but the actual game turned out to be of high quality. Yes, it still has performance issues, but those do seem to be getting ironed out. I still wouldn't recommend people pick this up, certainly without looking more into their platform of choice and seeing what people are saying about how the game is running currently. If you're on PC, maybe even look into what people with similar builds as you are saying. Because it's weird. I know with PC, I've seen people saying, like, some people with, like, newer graphics cards are having more issues than people with older ones. Just kind of weird. But as I've said, personally, I've had a great time with it. Currently, I see very few issues with it on the Xbox One X. And I think if you enjoy these types of games, you will too. It's a disaster, but it's a beautiful disaster. Despite all its flaws and fumbles, it's still something you may have trouble pulling yourself away from. And with that, this video's a wrap. Let me know your thoughts on Borderlands 3, as well as all the craziness surrounding it in the comments. How do you think the game turned out, all things considered? Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this discussion of Borderlands 3. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. If you want to keep the conversation going, hit me up on Twitter at Johnny Zakari, and join my Discord, ChiGuy and Friends, linked to both in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching.